Hi everyone, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be doing a guide for Muscovy for EU4 1.35 Domination. So Muscovy is a nation located in the eastern half of Europe, and we do start off as one of the most powerful nations in the game. And of course, Muscovy is the nation that is going to go on to historically form Russia. Muscovy has been updated in 1.35, receiving this brand new-ish mission tree right here, which is super powerful, especially this first mission right here. After you invade Novgorod, this branch over here takes you on to conquer this region. Then these missions tell you to conquer the hordes. You can push into Caucasia. We even have some colonization missions and some other super powerful missions down here, which let you unite the Eastern, Western, and South Slavs into the Slavic culture group. We got Third Rome right here. And after you form Russia, you will also unlock additional missions down here, which make Muscovy super powerful. Our national ideas as Muscovy are really good. We got diplo relations, shock damage, land force limit, tax, yearly army tradition, missionary strength and tolerance of the true faith, morale, stability discount, fort maintenance discount, and diplo rep, and Russian ideas are even better. And of course, we do start off with the unique government reform, the Russian principality right here, which is super strong. And we also start off with 5 subjects right here, all of which are going to help us out in our early conquests, and then we're going to integrate them. Newer players might be deterring from playing Muscovy due to the massive expansion that they're going to experience, maybe trouble fighting the hordes, and our weak-ish economy at the start. But don't worry, by using this guide, we'll be conquering Novgorod, integrating our vassals, breaking the Tatar yoke, pushing into Poland, Lithuania, conquering the Balkans, and we'll go on to own a massive part of the world in Eurasia. So let's take a look at what we need to do as Muscovy. Alright, here we are as Muscovy, and when you start the game, you will get this event immediately. That's how the game starts, basically telling you that as long as this province right here, the province of Sarai, is owned by a horde, we will be losing prestige yearly, and we'll have to pay some money to the Great Horde as well, which honestly isn't a problem at all. We'll get to conquering this province very soon. So you can just click this away. The first thing we want to focus on as Muscovy is completing the mission Rally the Army, which requires us to have 10 admin points a month, which is going to be super easy. And then we just need to get our army at least 80% of our force limit, which is once again going to be super easy. We're just going to recruit a mercenary company for that. But first, we're going to go into our estates. You may notice that the boyars, or the nobles, start off with strong duchies, which is no big deal. We're going to give that out either way, even if we didn't start with it. But we also have the something system right here, which doesn't let us get reform progress growth that fast. But don't worry, this is not a real problem right at the start. We will be getting rid of this later when the nobles become more loyal than they are influential. So first, we're going to get started by summoning the Diet. You can pick whichever agenda is best for you. Then we're going to give the patriarchs religious state, clerical advisory council, and religious diplomats. Then we're going to give the boyars, which already have 2 privileges, primacy of the boyars, increased levies, and aristocratic councilors. We do have a ton of unique boyar privileges right here. Most importantly, these 2, early serfdom, which give you some bonuses right here, which are really strong, but then you have some bad effects later on, or increased peasant freedom, which is kind of bad early on due to that manpower modifier and might not be that bad later. These are more complicated and I wouldn't recommend them for newer players, but if you're more experienced, I recommend going with early serfdom. However, for the purposes of this guide, we're not going to be taking any of them. And then we're going to give the burghers land of commerce, patronage of the arts, commercial advisory board, and indebted to the burghers. Additionally, because we have steppe provinces and we're going to be conquering a lot of steppe provinces as well, we do have the Cossack estate. And I do recommend giving the Cossacks prime herding rights. And then we're going to seize land. Next, you can go into your subjects and tell all of them to siege, which I've already done, and after that we're going to go ahead and set some rivals. You should go ahead and rival the only nations that are available to rival, most importantly Novgorod, and then whoever else there is. In my case, it's Denmark and Lithuania. Even though we're not that rich at the start as Muscovy, we're still going to go ahead and hire 3 advisors. Money isn't really going to be a problem, even though we're not making it, so get whichever level 1 admin advisor you want. I'm going to get this yearly inflation reduction guy. Get a diplo rep or improve relations level 1 dip advisor. I don't have those guys, so I'm just going to get this trade efficiency guy, and get a morale, discipline, manpower, or fort defense level 1 mill advisor. I do have this manpower guy, so I am gonna hire him. Next, it's time for us to focus on completing this mission. We already have 10 admin points because we hired an advisor and we gave out the privilege, so now we just need to get our army 80% of our force limit. It's 26 out of 36 right now, so you can just go ahead and hire the Grand Company wherever you want to. Now we can go ahead and merge our armies right here in Moscow. We do need to rearrange them a little bit, and we're waiting for December 11th. Once you get the Grand Company up, you will be able to take the mission Rally the Army right here, which is super powerful, and it gives you this event right here. And with this event, we have 2 options. We can choose the first option, where basically all permaclaims remain permaclaims, and this is in relation to every permaclaim from our mission. including the ones that we get right now. Or you can choose this second option right here, where permaclaims become a non-permaclaims, basically they last for 25 years, but we also get a diplomat, minus 15% core creation cost, we can claim bordering claims, basically we gain half of this right here. Just from that, you don't have to take this ability, and we can claim entire states, which is the Russian mechanic that enables you to claim entire states instead of just provinces at no additional cost. And then our permaclaims, of course, become regular claims. Now, this right here is super powerful. That means we get minus 15% CCR even on non-claims, and we will be expanding fast enough to where we don't really need those claims to be permanent. Of course, permanent claims do also reduce core creation cost. Temporary claims also give you a lesser core creation cost, and along with this, it evens out. So I do recommend selecting the second option right here, since it's super powerful. And there we go. Now, these are the claims that we get. They last for 25 years, and we are going to conquer most of this in 25 years. Of course, if you're faster and more experienced, you will conquer all of it. Now, we're still waiting for December 11th. While we have these free diplomats, with one of them, you can start improving relations with your own subjects. We don't really need allies as Muscovy. Now that December 11th has come around, we are ready to declare our first war. So what we're gonna do first is merge these two armies right here that we have from the start, and we can put our starting general right here in charge of this army. And then what we're gonna do is simply declare on Novgorod for the conquest of Neva. You might think you can do a reconquest for this one core right here, but that's not really relevant. So just declare a conquest for Neva. If Novgorod has allied someone like Tver or Ryazan or Odoyev, check to see if you can co-belligerent them. In my case, I can co-belligerent Odoyev without calling anyone else in. So there we go. We're good to go ahead and declare for the conquest of Neva, like I said. And there we go. In this first war versus Novgorod, we're focusing on taking some border provinces right here, so the Kalmar Union and Poland and Lithuania can't attack them. You can let the vassals do most of the work, or you can go ahead and get involved yourself. Try to save some manpower though. After you've started your war with Novgorod, you can go ahead and start spying on them. This is to complete the sieges a little bit faster. And this is the event that you're gonna get when the Great Horde demands tribute. Basically, either you give a little bit of money to them, or you choose the second option, which is actually pretty bad. They loot your provinces, you gain devastation, you lose mill points and stuff like that. So don't ever refuse to pay the tribute. It's not worth it. Just give them some money and we'll deal with them later. If you fought any of these guys while fighting Novgorod, you can go ahead and separate piece them and full annex them. And once you beat up Novgorod, you're good to go ahead and peace out. And in this first war versus Novgorod, like I said, we're focusing on taking border provinces so other nations can't fight them. So what I recommend is taking these provinces right here that border Lithuania and Sweden and Norway. Then you can take back your core and then take whatever else that you want to, basically max war score. We're aiming to take out Novgorod in just 2 wars right here. So just take whatever you want. I'm gonna do something like this in my game, split them in 2, maybe some nations will pop out of them. It really doesn't matter too much what you take after you take the border provinces. And that's your first war with Novgorod done. There we go. Now we can go back home and chill a little bit until we core these provinces up, and then we'll move on with our next wars. For our next wars, we're either gonna fight these small minor nations right here, or some of the hordes if they're weak enough, or if they don't have strong allies. We'll see though. Once the initial war is done, you can go ahead and rearrange this army a little bit. These horses are a bit too expensive for us right now, so what I recommend that you do is get 3 cavalry regiments and get rid of them. And after that, you can hire 1 more infantry regiment. A couple of months or a couple of years after the start of the game, you will get the event, the 3rd period of the Muscovite Civil War, which is related to these 2 missions right here. Now this is something that's unavoidable, and basically your ruler and heir go into exile, and basically until he returns from exile, you gain -1 monthly admin, diplo, and mill points, which isn't too big of a deal. You know, they're offset by the advisors and by the estate privileges. So just choose this option right here. You lose a bit of stab, and another ruler of the same dynasty goes into power. To end the Civil War disaster, we need to get our legitimacy up. After you're done with the first war, another diplomat can go ahead and improve relations with outraged countries. Something else you can do to make a little more money is tell all of the vassals that are super loyal to go ahead and divert trade, just like this. You see, Perm became disloyal because I did this, so you can just disable it on them or placate them once or twice to get them back in line. But no big deal. Keep checking your estates periodically due to various events and stuff like that, or completing some of the diets. The boyars may be more loyal than they are influential, in which case at that point you are going to revoke this privilege right here. Just make sure not to do it like right now while you're gathering legitimacy to end the Civil War disaster. After you end the disaster, then you can focus on that and revoke it. After a little bit of time has passed, after your initial starting ruler left, and after you get an heir with this new ruler, you will get the Rule of Dmitry event, where you can end Dmitry's rule once and for all, or whatever your guy that rose up is called, and basically you get your starting ruler and starting heirs back So you can do that and then you fight some pretenders, no big deal. Or you can let whoever rose up have the throne instead, that negative modifier will be removed and we gain legitimacy. Now of course you can compare the guys that you got with the starting guys. In my case the starting guy is 312, this guy is 215. The starting year is 345, this new year is 552. So I think the guys that I got now are a little bit better than the starting guys, so that's why I'll go with the second option right here to keep the guys that rose up. And there we go, we gain some additional legitimacy. Now we just need to wait for it to rise a little bit more and then we can complete this mission. The Muscovite Civil War, it's not really a disaster and it's not really that bad, it's just some flavor events and now you know how to navigate them. Of course, as Muscovy and all of these small guys and later Russia, you do have the unique Russian abilities right here. With this first one right here, you gain minus 5% local autonomy in your own provinces. This one right here lowers rebel progress and this one right here recruits those unique regiments later when you form Russia. Right now, you just gain some manpower and lose war exhaustion, and you gain infantry combat for those regiments. Take them whatever you can. After you've cored everything up, you should wait to get Admin Tech 4, and after that, we'll be declaring our next wars. Once you've cored everything up and you've gotten Admin Tech 4, it is time to move on with your wars. And like I said, you're going to be fighting some of these guys right here, so Tver, Odoyev, or Ryazan, depending on the alliances and depending on who exists in your game, or if one of Kazan and Great Horde are super easy to fight, you can go ahead and fight them in your second war. In my case, Kazan, they have pretty strong allies. The Great Horde, they would be easy to fight, but why not take care of these two guys, which are super easy? So if I declare on Tver right here, Ryazan is their ally, I'll get to fight them again, and if I co-belligerent these guys, the Great Horde will come in, which is actually not something I want to do right now, so we'll just go ahead and fight Tver and Ryazan without co-belligerenting them. You can fight whoever of these guys is easiest, like I said, or a Horde if you have an opportunity. But there we go, this is my second war started. And there we go, my war with Tver and Ryazan is done. Let's see if I can full annex both of them in the same peace screen. I can't, so I'm just gonna go ahead and separate peace Ryazan here and take everything. There we go, just like that. These provinces are pretty expensive since they're in a state already, and then I'm gonna go ahead and peace out Tver for all of their money and all of their provinces. And there we go. In just 2 wars, all of the Russian minor principalities have been wiped out, and we've taken care of half of Novgorod. At this point, we're once again gonna chill a little bit, core everything up, and then we're gonna deal with the hordes. Once you do wipe out those small nations right here, you will be able to take the mission Consolidate Russia, which gives you minus 3 national unrest and minus 0.05 monthly autonomy change until the death of your current ruler. Also, 10 provinces in the Russia region gain some manpower. Pretty nice. At this point, I've gotten more than 80 legitimacy, which means we can complete the mission, the Muscovite Civil War. It gives us minus 1 national unrest and plus 1 yearly legitimacy. Pretty nice. To complete this one right here, we basically need to have a pretty good ruler. And after that, we'll gain reform progress growth, estates loyalty, and stuff like that. Once 10 years have passed, you can start annexing your initial starting subjects, and you could go ahead and give out the boyars the integration policy. However, be careful, because as we know, these guys are already super influential. So if there are like 90 or 95 influence in your game or something like that, don't give out the boyars integration policy. However, if they're good, if they're around this area right here, you can go ahead and give it out so you don't lose diplorep when you annex a subject. And there we go, I've given it out, and basically annex whichever one of these guys likes you the most. In my case, I can do Pskov, Yaroslavl, and Perm, and it really doesn't matter in which order you do them, so I'm gonna go ahead and start with Pskov right here. Once you've cored everything up from your second war, you can go ahead and start your third war, and most likely it's gonna have to be versus one of the hordes. So check and see which of Kazan and the Great Horde would be easier to fight. In my case, Kazan, like I said, they got pretty strong allies, and the Great Horde, they're only allied to Uzbek, which is not really a big deal. So that's what I'm gonna declare on, the Great Horde. Just declare for this first province right here, since we're gonna be taking it anyway, and then we'll see what we do. In this first war, we might take the province of Sarai, which removes the whole Tatar yoke modifier. But more on that when we go ahead and peace out. So simply declare on whichever horde is easier to peace out. If you're fighting Kazan, however, you should focus on taking the gold mine right here. The best time to declare on the hordes is when you have Miltech 4, but they don't. And be careful about fighting them in steppe provinces. If you declare on them while you're at the same Miltech level, they may beat you up in these provinces, so be careful. And there we go, pretty much once you do occupy Sarai, you will get this event, End of the Tatar Yoke, you gain stability, and we no longer have to pay tribute to the Great Horde. Once you get the tech 4 in every category, that'll probably be during your third war, just like me right here. Don't tech up and stuff like that. Instead, it is time for us to develop the Renaissance. Now, it is already spreading in Muscovy a bit, so we are just gonna dev a little bit, maybe Muscovy, not all the way to spawn the Renaissance. Muscovy is pretty cheap, and it's a good idea to dev our capital, and we'll gain a 30 dev city to tick off this age objective. So just go ahead and activate Encourage Development in your capital state of Moscow right here. Then we're gonna go ahead and expand infrastructure to make it even cheaper to dev, and just push it up to 10 in every category, and then we'll see where we're at with the Renaissance. We might do a little bit more deving, maybe 12, 12, 12, something like that. Of course, you don't have to dev everything exactly the same, but that is the best to even out your points. In my case, I'm pretty lacking on Diplo actually, so I'll probably stop deving Diplo and dev a little bit more in admin and mill. Now that I've pieced out Uzbek, I've gotten a lot of war score versus the Great Horde, and we can take the mission Break the Tatar Yoke right here, where we gain power projection, admin points, and mill points. Pretty nice. And once we've pretty much completely obliterated the Great Horde, it is time to piece them out. In my case, Gazikumuk is also their vassal, so that's why they're sieged down. But in this first war versus the Great Horde, here's what I recommend you do. Either way, they're too big for us to annex them in one war, so why not split them up? And as you can see right here, Astrakhan is a nation that can be released from the Great Horde, which could own about half of their territory. So what I recommend that you take in your first war versus the Great Horde is these provinces right here that Astrakhan doesn't have cores on, and then one more province that Astrakhan does have a core on. So that's what I'm taking in my game. These provinces right here, and a province to release Astrakhan from. If the Great Horde have already been beaten up by someone like Kazan or Nogai or Crimea, you're still gonna take as much as you can that Astrakhan doesn't have cores on, and then one province that they do have a core on if you can. So that's my first war with the Great Horde done. And those are your first 3 wars, versus Novgorod, versus one of the hordes, and versus the Russian minor principalities that aren't our subjects. Now it's time for us to chill a little bit and see where we move on from here. Of course, don't forget to release Astrakhan once you do take a province. And by the way, you can keep annexing subjects if they're loyal enough. I'm gonna do Perm now. And at this point, I can also embrace the Renaissance. Once you hit Admin Tech 5, it will be time for your first idea group, and we do need to address immediately something that Muscovy kinda struggles with in the early part of the game, and something that is gonna help us out a lot in the later part of the game, because we're gonna be opening up with trade ideas. Now, trade is very good because, like I said, we are poor with Muscovy, and we're gonna be conquering a lot of different trade nodes by going this way, and of course, we are gonna need those additional merchants to help us route all that trade first to Novgorod, later maybe even the Baltic Sea if we expand this way, and later on maybe even Lubeck if we get to there at all. But we're definitely going to need all those merchants and all of those trade modifiers as well. And the policies that trade has is going to go really well with other ideas that we're going to pick, such as religious for that missionary strength and goods produced, and other things like quantity and quality and stuff like that. So after you take Admin Tech 5, it is time to open up with trade ideas. At this point, I do recommend that you focus on dip. We do already start off focusing on admin. By the time you core everything up from your 3rd war, you've chilled sufficiently to where you can declare your 4th war, which is actually going to be your 2nd war versus Novgorod. By this point, they should be small like this, and they shouldn't have any allies, so simply go ahead and declare Novgorod for the conquest of Novgorod, which is their capital, and go ahead and wipe them out. At this point, I've also annexed Perm after previously annexing Pskov. And like I said, after this very quick and easy 2nd war versus Novgorod, you should go ahead and full annex them, and at this point, Novgorod doesn't exist anymore. And that's that. Once you do that, you will be able to take the mission Invade Novgorod, where you gain claims or permaclaims depending on what you choose from this mission on various other areas down here, along with some dev and dev discount in Novgorod. There it is. And these are the areas that we gain claims on. Once you finish your 2nd war versus Novgorod, it is time to get a move on and deal with these claims right here in Kazan, because they will be expiring pretty soon. So this is our next war after that. We do have to deal with Kazan and take the gold mine over here, which is super important. Earlier, I did make Uzbek break their alliance with them, so now they're not as strong, but they're still allied to Crimea and Chagatai, which is super annoying. But luckily, we may not even need to 100% them, because we only want most of what we can get from the claims that we have on Kazan. So at this point, you are strong enough, go ahead and declare on Kazan for the conquest of Bashkird right here, which is the gold mine that we want to take. And there we go. That's your next war after you've wrapped up Novgorod. For your tier 2 government reform as Muscovy, I think you have 2 options. You can either compromise with the nobility, so increased levies no longer gives them influence, and we gain a stab discount and your legitimacy, or you could also separate the boyars from the court, where you gain government power and the boyars lose influence. But then again, from this one, they also lose influence because we've given them increased levies, so there's really no point in taking this one. So that's why we're gonna go compromise with the nobility. We don't need strength and noble privileges as Muscovy and later as Russia. It's not that powerful right now, and it's not worth it for the boyars' influence. So compromise with the nobility. And most likely after you do that, you will finally be able to revoke the something something system from the boyars, which of course you should do immediately. We are going to lose stab, we're going to lose legitimacy, we're going to gain some corruption, but it's not a big deal because we do need that reform progress growth. So as soon as you can, go ahead and take it away. Like I said, it's most likely going to be after you give the nobles compromise with the nobility. And at this point, Kazan has unconditionally surrendered, so even without piecing out Chagata and Yarkand, I can go ahead and peace out. And of course, you may notice that in my game, Kazan has grown a bit. They've taken these provinces down here, which are originally Nogai cores. Pretty much this is where Kazan is located, but no big deal. What we're gonna do to peace out is take all of these border provinces right here that we have the permaclaims on, then take the gold mine in Bashkir as well, take their capital in Kazan, and then you can take whatever else you want to as well. So this is what I'm gonna take. The claims are gonna expire on these provinces in my game, but it's not a big deal. So this is what you want to get, sort of wrap them up in here in case someone else down here decides to fight them and stuff like that, because in your game, most likely Nogai would be here. So border provinces, the gold mine, and their capital. And that's your war with Kazan done. Now that we've taken care of Novgorod, all of the Russian miners, and the Great Horde and Kazan in one war each, we can go ahead and move on with some of these claims that we've gotten right here. But after you do take care of Kazan and own basically 10 provinces, in the areas that they start with, you will be able to take the mission Subjugate Kazan, where you gain a Conquistador, which means we can explore some of these provinces right here in the hordes that we can see, along with claims over in other regions. Now, of course, because we've gone with the option for our claims to not be permaclaims, you might want to save some of these missions right here, so I'm not going to take this just yet. When I'm ready to fight those guys, that's when I'm going to take it. For now, this is what we need to focus on. If at any point you're struggling with GovCap like I am, you can go ahead and give the Patriarchs, since they're probably the least influential, Patriarch land rights. Keep in mind that this will decrease Crownland ownership. Alternatively, you could give it to the Cossacks as well. Right now, I'm also going to be annexing Yaroslavl. Once you do core up the gold mine over here that you took from Kazan, make sure to full state the state of Bashkiria right here, activate Encourage Dev, and develop it up to 10 in production. And don't forget to keep lowering autonomy whenever you can. Due to our low Crownland ownership, it will be increasing somewhere. Once you've dealt with Kazan, like I said, it's time to move on some of these provinces right here. I recommend going for the Livonian Order first if they exist. In my case, we can see that they've been beaten up a little bit by Poland, but it's really not a big deal. They should be allied to only the Teutons if they still exist, and to Riga, and in my case, yes, it is Riga. You can co-belligerent Riga if you want to. In my case, I won't, since Poland will get involved, and go ahead and take as much of the Livonian Order as you can. You probably will be able to full annex them, and then separate piece Riga and take Riga as well. Right now, my ruler just died, and now I can take the mission Secure Strong Leadership, which gives us Reform Progress Growth, Estates Loyalty, and Change National Focus cooldown. For your first age ability, you should select the Justified Wars. There we go. I've beaten up Riga and the Livonian Order, so like I said, I am gonna separate piece Riga like this. Boom, there we go. And I'm also gonna piece out the Livonian Order and take as much as I can. Like I said, you should be able to full annex them and take these 3 additional provinces that I can't, because Poland has taken them in my game. And there we go, just like that, we've taken care of these 3 entire areas in one war, ideally. After you deal with the Livonian Order, you should check and see if your truce with the Great Horde is up, in which case you should go ahead and fight them and retake Astrakani cores. It's precisely what I'm gonna do. Of course, as Muscovy, we're gonna have no shortage of forts, so make sure to delete ones you don't need. I'm gonna delete this one right here, this one right here, the one in Yaroslavl, this one up here, and more later on as we expand. After you've dealt with the Livonian Order and Riga, like I said, you should go ahead and come back to the Great Horde because your truce with them will have expired by now, and you should go ahead and declare to retake Astrakan's cores. And now that I've finished the war with the Great Horde, I'll be piecing them out and giving Astrakhan all of their cores back, and since that's not a lot of aggressive expansion at all, I'll also additionally be taking some provinces that they've taken themselves from Crimea. And that's my second war with the Great Horde done. Depending on what they did in your campaign, after you wrap this war up, the Great Horde may no longer exist. In my case, they've expanded a little bit, so that's why they still have provinces down here. Once you've given Astrakhan all of their cores back, you're good to go ahead and annex them. But after you've annexed some of your vassals and after you've expanded this much, keep an eye out on governing capacity. As we can see, I'm over. Right now, I'll also go ahead and annex Below Zero. And Below Zero has also been annexed. By this point, I've only got 1 original subject remaining. After you've done all the wars that I have, you may look to declare on Poland and Lithuania. In my case, they're just allies, so Poland hasn't taken Lithuania, but if it is Poland, Lithuania, and basically if you can't separate piece them, you could at this point look for a European ally that might help you fight these guys. Usual candidates are some of these guys right here, maybe Denmark, Bohemia, Austria, and Hungary, but in my case, Austria has PU'd Hungary and Bohemia, and Denmark isn't doing well at all. In fact, they're in a war with Austria right now, so I don't have anyone to ask to help me out. But luckily, I can separate piece Poland because Lithuania isn't their junior partner. So, after you've dealt with these guys, Lithuania is definitely a valid target. But because at this point we are still kind of suffering with governing capacity, and because reconquests are always great, there are a ton of nations that we can later on release from Lithuania to help us reconquer their cores, like Smolensk right here, Polotsk, Cheringov, Kiev, and nations like that. More on that later when we do fight Lithuania. Once you hit Admin Tech 7, you will be able to take your second idea group, and as an Orthodox nation, and as a nation that's going to expand into so many different religions and religious groups, we of course do need to take religious ideas for our second idea group. This will help us deal with the unrest in the provinces, it'll help convert everything over to Orthodox, and when we get this CB later on, we will be unstoppable, and it meshes of course very well with any Orthodox nation, so that's why after trade, for your second idea group, you should take religious. Right now, I'm also going to annex the final original subject that we start with, Rostov. Like I said, do these guys in any order that you want to. Right now, I just noticed that I actually can in fact ally Austria, which is an amazing opportunity. They'll help us deal with Poland, Lithuania, later even the Ottomans, but of course we're going to have to fight them too, because our mission tree does tell us to conquer over in this region. But for now, they will be a useful ally in helping me deal with Poland and Lithuania. Like I said, when it's time to fight these guys, try and ally some of their neighbors in this side. And there we go. Now that I've annexed Rostov, the final original subject, I can take the mission, the subjects of Muscovy. You'll be able to do the same, and of course you should take it immediately. Once you grow a little bit bigger, you will be able to diplo-vassalize some smaller nations, especially smaller Orthodox nations. In my case right here, I can go for Theodoro, Circassia, and the Teutonic Order. The Teutonic Order wouldn't be bad either. We can reconquer all of these provinces from Poland, Lithuania, and Circassia, of course, if they still exist, they're a no-brainer. So I'm gonna go for them first, and then I'll see if I can get the Teutons. But around the 1480s, check and see if you can do this to any nations. Maybe for Theodoro it's not worth it since they're only one province, but Circassia and someone that we can reconquer their cores, they're definitely worth it. And there we go. I did all the necessary things to be able to vassalize Circassia, and now, in just about a month, I will. There we go. When it's time for your Tier 3 government reform, I think you have two options as Muscovy. Now, since we're already playing so heavily with vassals, and we will continue to play heavily with vassals for quite a while, at least until we deal with this area right here, there's lots of nations that will vassalize and reconquer their cores over in Carpathia, over in the Balkans, in this region too, maybe not in Central Asia and in Western Asia so much, but definitely over in Europe. I think representatives of the crown is a very good option for your Tier 3 government reform. If you're going more solo style, more doing everything yourself, taking land for yourself, then in that case, I recommend taking Expanded Royal Court. So, if you're playing with vassals, this one, if not, this one. Of course, later in the game, when you don't have any vassals, you could of course swap to Expanded Royal Court, even if you start with this one. Now, I've curried 10 favors with my ally Austria, and they are willing to help out with Lithuania, so I'm gonna do precisely that. Declare on them. There we go, I'm calling in Austria, and I'm just gonna declare for Kiev, for example, right here, since it's a very valuable province. But that doesn't matter too much what you declare for, because we are gonna be releasing around 3 or 4 subjects from provinces that we take from Lithuania. So, whenever you're ready, usually around the 1480s or 1490s, go ahead and declare on Lithuania or Poland, Lithuania. Right now I've beaten Poland up enough, so I'm gonna separate piece them for these 3 provinces up here that I would have gotten from the Livonian Order, if the Livonian Order had them earlier, of course. And there we go. I knocked out Genoa and Poland, so it's just time to deal with Lithuania. Of course, this would be very annoying without Austria, Hungary, and Bohemia's help, so be careful when you declare on these guys. Their combined armies will be bigger than yours during this point in the game, most likely. Either way, after you take care of this entire area, you will be able to take the mission Window on the west, which gives you a permaclaim on the Baltic region, which is right here, along with some areas over in Finland. These ones to be exact. And when you do beat up Poland, Lithuania, or just Lithuania, here's what I recommend that you do. You should start from this province right here and go all the way to the border with Poland to get this province. Now, by taking these provinces from over here, we can release Kiev, and from over here we can release Galicia, Volhynia, and I'll show you what their cores are later, of course, once we do release them. And then after that, you should take these provinces down here for yourself if you've already fought Crimea. If not, you can just go like this. In my case, I've already fought them, so I'll take this up here. And then you can release Cheringov from these 2 provinces right here. And then I recommend additionally taking this province up here, and if you've already taken the mission, which gives you a permaclaim on the Baltic region, which like I said is up here, I'm gonna take it right now in my case. And there we go, I've gotten the claims. I'm also gonna take some provinces up here. There we go, these three are enough for now. So do something like this. This is basically to release Kiev and Galicia Volhynia. This down here is to release Cheringov, and this one over here is to release Smolensk. Everything else is for you. And there we go. That's our first war with Lithuania, or Poland-Lithuania, done. Now, after this war is done, these are the nations that you will release. The nation of Kiev. There it is right there. The nation of Galicia Volhynia. There it is right there. The nation of Cheringov. There it is right there. And the nation of Polotsk. There it is right there. So, you can also release Zaporozhye and Smolensk as well, but I don't think they have enough cores to where it's warranted that we have to reconquer them. And these are the Polotsk cores that we're going to reconquer. These are the Kiev cores that we're going to reconquer. These are the Galicia Volhynia cores that we're going to reconquer. And these are the Cheringov cores that we're going to reconquer. Almost all of Lithuania is going to be reconquest for these vassals. This is pretty much the entire area that we need to conquer ourselves. So that's your first war with Poland-Lithuania, or Lithuania, done. We have 4 additional subjects that we're going to reconquer their cores. And with this, we don't even have to concern ourselves with these claims expiring. We're not even going to be using them. We're going to be using our subjects as cores. Once you're done with Lithuania or Poland-Lithuania, since aggressive expansion with Catholic nations may be high-ish, and we do want to push into Catholic nations again because the claims that we have on Finland right here from this mission, that's why we need to chill with these guys a little bit. So once you're done with that, you can go back over to the hordes and finish off the Great Horde and Kazan if they still exist in your game. In my game right here, I'm immediately gonna declare on the Great Horde since their ally Uzbek won't join them, and once a month passes, I'll also declare on Kazan because neither their allies Chagatai or Uzbek would join. And there's the war declaration on Kazan as well. If they hadn't taken this from Nogai earlier, this is the only region they would have left. And this is most likely what they're gonna look like in your game by now. Hopefully, they won't have expanded, like in mine. When you start converting all of the provinces that aren't Orthodox, you can also give the patriarchs enforced unity of faith. Now my war with Kazan is done. This is what I'll be taking in this war, and then I can take this mission right here, which will give me further claims on these provinces that they own down here. In your game, this would probably be Nogai. And now the war with the Great Horde is done as well. I'll also be full annexing them. Ideally, by this point, neither Kazan nor the Great Horde would exist anymore. If they already didn't exist in your campaign, you could fight someone like Nogai, Uzbek, or Crimea if you haven't so far. And by the time you take your third idea in religious right here, religious conversion will be super easy, even in the provinces that are only territories and not full cores. At this point, I have 11% missionary strength due to various modifiers that I've gathered, an advisor, estate privileges, and ideas. Now, of course, at a certain point during the game, it happened, I think pretty early-ish for me, you will get the event Ivan IV the Terrible, where the Muscovite throne belongs to Ivan as the option that we have to choose, and Ivan IV Grozny with 656 stats and a strong 95 claim will become the ruler at age 16. Of course, you will accept this no matter who your ruler is, no matter who the heir is, and you will not take the second option. We do have to get this guy in power. And there he is, 656. Age 15 or 16 actually, just as soon as a month takes over, and this guy will help us with our conquests a lot. We do need all of these points. Of course, whenever you can, make sure to take new burger loans and upgrade your nation. I've been building buildings during this entire time. You'll only struggle with cash around the first 20 years of the game, and look, at 5 loans, 2,600 ducats, I'll use all of this money to upgrade various centers of trade. And by the time colonialism comes around, your realm should look a little something like this. Basically, we start off as Muscovy with the classic opening, beating up Novgorod, then cleaning up the smaller Russian principalities, which weren't our subjects, then focusing on the hordes, getting back to Novgorod, cleaning up the hordes, and after that pushing into the Livonian Order, Riga, and having a possible war with Poland and Lithuania, or just Lithuania, depending on your situation. And like I said, you should look a little something like this. Keep in mind that even if you haven't fought these guys, that's just a bonus. It's not necessary to do during this time. So if you feel like you're powerful enough, or if you have some allies over here like I did with Austria and their subjects, you could have declared on these guys. And of course, you should have popped these guys out of Lithuania so that we can reconquer all of these nice juicy cores later on. And of course, we already did some reconquering for cores by releasing Astrakhan from this one province right here in our first war versus the Great Horde. In your second war with them, you should have wrapped all of their cores up. Maybe you've integrated them by now. The only reason I haven't is because I'm way over gov cap, but that's not a problem. By the time colonialism comes around, your northern border should be unlocked. you should have taken care of these areas right here with Riga and the Livonian Order, and the Great Horde and Kazan should no longer exist. And you may have done some extra wars like I have, which wasn't really an extra war, but I did take some provinces over here from the Great Horde. In your game, you might have also fight Crimea if they were located over here. And this is how big you should be by now. In my game right here, I'm #1 on the Great Powers list, way above everyone else. In your game, the Ottomans might have a better game. In mine right here, they suck, so that's why they're so weak. But if Ming has blown up and the Ottomans aren't that good, you will be the most powerful nation in the world, and you'll be ready to expand even more. After this point, you'll actually continue to expand in the same directions we've already been expanding in, and I'll tell you the tips on that right now. Of course, later on, you will go ahead and declare a reconquest on Lithuania or Poland-Lithuania and retake Polotsk, Chernihiv, Kiev, and Galicia-Volhynia cores. After that, Lithuania and Poland pretty much won't exist, but you could continue pushing into this region, and of course, the missions will tell you to do that. And speaking of missions, once we've taken the mission window on the west, where you gain claims on the Baltic and on Finland, you should focus on fighting Sweden or Denmark or whoever is up here in order to take these Finnish areas right here. After that, we have a super nice mission, the Conquest of Finland, where we have the ability to release Finland as a personal union, and the Grand Duchy of Finland event happens, and after that, you could continue pushing into Scandinavia and stuff like that. And you also could not release Finland if you want to. These are the bonuses you get if you don't release Finland, of course. However, I do recommend releasing them just for the flavor and stuff like that. It is a unique thing, so why not play with unique things? You know, we don't always have to optimize and min-max stuff. But additionally, if we release Finland, we can recruit some unique cavalry regiments from them, which is super nice. And after pushing into Finland and Poland-Lithuania, you will still continue to go on this way, and towards the west, these are the regions that I recommend you expand into later. And of course, depending on your goals, you could stop right there or you could push on further. It's totally up to you. But what I would do in my Muscovy to Russia campaign right here is conquer the entire region of Scandinavia, the entire region of the Baltic, Poland, Carpathia, and the Balkans. And of course, the missions will tell you to do that. As we can see right here, they will take us over to Constantinople. We do need to protect the South Slavs to unite all of the Slavic culture groups into one giant Slavic culture group, which will all be accepted, so it's super nice. So this is sort of the border that I would expand to over in the west. I would probably also take Anatolia and Caucasia and do something like this over here. That would be my border. As for going this way, of course, once you take the mission Subjugate Kazan, these are the regions that you get claims on, and you should aim to push into the entire Central Asia region right here. And of course, later, once you do form Russia, all we needed is Admin Tech 10. We have all the necessary provinces. You will gain the ability to colonize all of these uncolonized provinces, and you will go on to conquer West Siberia, East Siberia over here, Mongolia and stuff like that, maybe even Korea, maybe even Japan, maybe some regions over in China. But your missions do also tell you to go over in Alaska, so you could colonize some stuff over there if you want to. However, this is generally the region you should go ahead and focus on. So after you're done with this, after chilling for a bit, you could go ahead and hit Sweden, get Finland from them, take stuff from Poland and Lithuania, push on into the hordes, and just keep going this way while shifting your expansion focuses from different culture groups to other different culture groups, from one religion to another, so you don't get coalitioned. But honestly, aggressive expansion shouldn't be a problem at all at this point, and if you're a more experienced player, you would own a lot more by this point in the game. Maybe you would have fought Lithuania twice, you would own all of this, you would have pushed into the Caucasus, and you would probably already have Finland. So with normal gameplay, taking it slow, taking it chill, you would own something like this. However, if you were a little bit faster, you're probably about this big by now. Of course, during this point, we weren't only conquering and releasing subjects to reconquer provinces for them, you should have also been economically improving your nation. These are all the marketplaces that I've built in all the center of trade provinces that I can. Of course, not everything is stated, so that's why I haven't built everything everywhere. But once you hit Admin Tech 8, governing capacity will not be a problem anymore. You will go on to build a ton of courthouses and stuff like that, and you'll receive additional governing capacity. So up until you hit Admin Tech 8, it might be a problem a little bit. After that, it won't. But going back to improving your nation, I've also been building a bunch of workshops in the high-value trade group provinces that we honestly don't have a lot of. I've also been building a ton of churches, some barracks here and there, and later, of course, you will go on to build manufactories and courthouses, like I said, but you should have focused on the economic aspect of the game right now. I only have burger loans right now, making 16 ducats a month, and with trade, and later, once you conquer all of these different trade nodes, routing everything to Novgorod, later to the Baltic Sea, later to Lubeck, you will make a ton of money. So like I said, really only in the first 15 or 20 years, money is a problem. After that, once you get the gold mine, once you get some ideas from trade, it won't be a problem anymore. And once you go ahead and full state everything, lower autonomy everywhere, you'll be swimming in ducats. This is what we took for our first 2 idea groups. We went with trade and religious. For your 3rd idea group, I recommend diplomatic. This will help you deal with the subjects and conquer lots of provinces and avoid coalitions. And for your 4th idea group, I recommend admin ideas. This CCR will mesh very well with the CCR that we already have. The admin discount stuff is great, the autonomy change is great, and of course we do need that plus 20% governing capacity as well. So trade, religious, diplo, admin, and then for the other idea groups, I recommend picking up some middle ones to improve the quality of your army, such as offensive, defensive, or quality, but it's totally up to you. And after this point, I do recommend building up a couple of light ship fleets to protect trade over in Novgorod, the Baltic, and Crimea, but that's totally up to you. We don't really need to utilize a navy too heavily as Muscovy. This is what we took for our first 3 government reforms. Like I said, you could go with this one or this one. It's totally up to you. For your tier 5 government reform, you should of course go with grant land to the monasteries. This is a very strong as an Orthodox nation, so you should definitely go for it. It'll help you with patriarch authority and converting stuff as well. For tier 5 government reform, we do have 2 unique ones right here. I do recommend going with establish the Streltsy. For tier 6, you should take royal decree. For tier 7, you should take meritocratic recruitment. For tier 8, we do have a unique one, vodka of the crown, which is going to give us plus 125% production efficiency in every grain province, which we have absolutely a ton of, and we will continue to have a ton of, so that will make us an enormous amount of cash. However, if you don't think it's cool enough, even though it's a unique one, I recommend you go with empower the burghers or embracing the economic theory. For tier 9, you should go with this one, and for tier 10 and tier 11, all of them are really good. Take whichever one you want at that point in the game, and you will make no mistake. And keep in mind that when you do form Russia, you will gain the tier 1 Russian Tsardom government reform, which of course you should do. Going back to missions, you will aim to complete this entire mission tree right here. This branch over here is super important for uniting the Slavic culture group and getting Constantinople. This one right here is important for colonizing, and of course when you form Russia, you will gain a bunch more missions just like this stemming from this one right here once you form Russia, and you will go on to have fun with one of the best mission trees that EU4 has to offer. And like I said, by the time colonialism comes around, your realm should look a little something like this. Let me know in the comments below what's the next nation that I should do a guide on. If you want to watch me do stuff like this live, you can follow me on twitch.tv/RedHawkLive, and if you want to catch up on stuff from over there, you can subscribe to the second channel, link is in the description. If you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to leave a like, it really helps out a lot, and if you like the content and want to see more videos like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of them. And you can become a member today and join the Discord. The link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with another EU4 video.